Okay, welcome. First of all, my apologies for uh, the late start to the semester. We're very, very short-staffed in the Department of Social Sciences at the moment. So it's been a bit of a battle to get everything sorted out. I have circulated the course outline. I put it on the WhatsApp group. Course outline is on the WhatsApp group. It has also been uploaded on e-learning. If you look at the course outline, you will see that I have sorry, just give me a second. My apologies, there was just somebody that needed my attention quickly. Yes, sorry. Let me focus. If you look at the course outline, you'll see that I have omitted some of the two chapters in the study guide I have left out. So I have shortened, I have reduced the amount of work we have to do this semester to accommodate you with the late start. I have also reduced the number of assessments so that everything will still fit in comfortably. The purpose of, if you look at the course outline, you will see, and you might look at it and be shocked, but there's no need to look at it and be shocked. It might seem as if it is a lot of assessments that you have to do. There are quizzes. Previous years, I gave a discussion forum, but I've left that out this year. There's an assignment, and then there's a face-to-face test as well. And now you might be shocked about the deadlines that the face-to-face test and the deadline for the assignment are very close together. Don't be shocked about this. The reason why I am doing this course like this is because it forces you to engage with the work constantly during the semester, rather than just cramming for a test and then forgetting everything. So that by the end of the semester, you are comfortable with the work, and then your preparation for the exam will be relatively easy. Please be aware, it's in the course outline as well, that in order to qualify for the exam, you need a 50%, not 40%, 50% semester mark. Of course, going into the exam with a 50% makes it a lot easier to pass at the end of the day. So no, you're not being prejudiced about this. But do be aware of that. You have to work consistently during this semester. Classes are only once a week on a Wednesday between 1 and 2. Classes are recorded, and I upload my recordings on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. You can search M. Hanekom or Mariette Hanekom Nast Law Lectures, and all the recordings of all my online lectures are there. I do it that way because it is easier that way to finally access the recordings. Okay, so let's get started. Let's share my screen. Study material and PowerPoints and everything are on e-learning, by the way. You can find everything there. Give me a thumbs up quickly if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. Great. Just on a point of order, while I'm teaching, I am watching, I'm focusing on the screen that has the my power, or the window on my computer that has the PowerPoints, not on the Teams screen. So I will not see you if you raise your hand. If you want to ask a question, raising your hand, I'll probably not see. So please, if you want to interrupt me, you're absolutely welcome. If you want to ask a question, just call out, just say miss or whatever, and then I will give you the opportunity to speak. Okay, so you have studied law before. You have completed a semester of law. Traffic and transportation law is a little bit different from commercial law. Commercial law, where you did commercial law 1A, you did introduction to contracts, that was all based on common law. Traffic and transportation law, in fact, is based on statutory law. We look briefly next week. Today we look at the Namibian Constitution. Then next week we look at some different laws, acts of parliament that impact on transportation in Namibia. And after that, we start exclusively studying the Road Traffic and Transportation Act. Now, two things that are very important that you have to note as from today. You need a copy of the Road Traffic and Transportation Act. I generally refer to it as the RTTA. You need a copy of the Road Traffic and Transportation Act. It has been, there is a soft copy available on e-learning, so you can download it from there. You just need a copy of the Act. The Act is fairly short. The regulations are voluminous. The regulations is a thick document. You don't need to download the regulations. If you need the regulations for any particular purpose, I will provide you with the relevant regulations. But you need the Act. The study guide is written in the format of a wraparound study guide. What does that mean? It means that where we study certain specific sections of the Act, like Section 63, which deals with the duties of an operator, etc., etc. I did not copy and paste the law into the study guide. You must read the actual law, the actual Act. And the study guide only contains guidelines and pointers to assist you with the understanding of the actual Act. In addition to that, you must have a copy of the Namibian Constitution. You will need a copy of the Namibian Constitution in your face-to-face test, as well as in the exam. You can get copies of the Constitution anywhere. They're available free of charge, for example, at the office of the Ombudsman. Otherwise, you can also download and print it. If you print it, you only need chapter 3. You don't need to print the entire Constitution, but you do need chapter 3. You are permitted to bring it into the exam venue. A clean copy, not a copy that's had notes, that you've made notes in. But you will definitely in the exam be getting a case study that you will not be able to answer without your copy of the Constitution. Okay. So Namibian Constitution, this is unit 1 of the study guide. That's your learning outcomes. Not going to read the learning outcomes to you. Learning outcomes are always useful once you've worked through a particular study unit. Always go back to your learning outcomes and check yourself that you have met these learning outcomes. So you learned in commercial law 1A right at the beginning that the originating source of common law, of Namibian law, is common law. But the most important source is acts of parliament, statutes. And the most important law that we have in Namibia is the Namibian Constitution. The Namibian Constitution is essentially the document that sets out how Namibia is to function as an independent country, how the government works. It is the supreme law of the country. Any other law that we have in Namibia is subordinate, is less important than the Namibian Constitution. If there is anything in another law that contradicts the Constitution, that other law can be declared invalid. Starts off by setting out the principles on which Namibia is founded. The fact that it is an independent, democratic, and unitary state. There's only one government. It is a democratic state based on the concepts of democracy and the rule of law. The rule of law means that everybody in the country, from top to bottom, from the poorest person to the president herself, have to obey the law, are subject to the law. President is not exempt from the laws of the country. Constitution also sets out the division of powers. The division of powers, very important. Division between the executive, that's the cabinet, the legislature, parliament, and the judiciary, the courts. These are the 3 branches of government. They are equal. The one is not more important than the other one. So the executive must, if there's a court order, the executive has to obey this. Similarly, if there's a court order, Parliament has to obey this. The executive, the president cannot tell the courts what to do, what decisions to make. Courts are independent. And then what we specifically look at is Chapter 3 of the Namibian Constitution. which deals with the protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms of all people. Chapter 3 deals with human rights. Human rights, what are human rights? Okay, there's some words. I have explained these as we go along. Make sure for the entire course that you understand the terminology used. I know people no longer use, in previous years, I prescribed, under prescribed books, I prescribed a good English dictionary. I no longer do that because people don't use hard copy dictionaries anymore. You all have smartphones, but make sure that you understand the terminology used. What do I mean by rule of law? I have explained that. What is democracy? What is a unitary state? Okay, so what are human rights? Human rights are generally accepted principles of fairness and justice that belongs equally to all people. So from rich to poor, male, female, doesn't matter what your gender is, doesn't matter what your religion is, these human rights belong to you. You have human rights. They are entitlements. They are something that you are entitled to purely because you were born, because you are a human being. In the notes, there is a discussion about what human rights are. Make sure you go through that and that you understand these terms. Human rights are inherent. They were not something that was given to us as a gift. We have them because we are human. They are inalienable. You cannot give them away. You cannot take them away. They are indivisible and interdependent. They rely on each other for to achieve their full purpose. There's also some YouTube videos. I have uploaded these YouTube videos on e-learning for you to watch about human rights. Now, it's all good and fine to say that every single person has their human rights. But of course, we are multiple people in the country, and sometimes it can happen that one person's rights might come into conflict with another person's rights. Let's just give an example here. Matengo, I'm going to use you here as an example. Everybody, it's part of your right to dignity, is your right to a good name. So everybody that's in class at the moment here on the screen in front of me, Matengo has his right to his good name, that people won't go around defaming him, saying bad things about him, dragging his name through the mud. Now, what is going to happen if after class I go around telling other lecturers and fellow students that Matengo is such a horrible person? You're not, by the way, I'm just using you as an example. Matengo is such a horrible person. He's stupid, he doesn't work, he's lazy, he's dishonest, blah, 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 blah. All lots of bad things about him. Matengo, are you going to feel happy if I'm doing that? Is it going to be okay? Okay, he's not responding. Maybe he doesn't have, it's not somewhere where he's.
No.
No, no, it isn't. Of course it's not. You're not going to be happy if I go around slandering you, saying bad things about you. But now you come and confront me and you say to me, but Ms. Hanekom, you can't say those things. And I say to you, but Matengo, in terms of the Namibian constitution, one of my fundamental human rights is freedom of speech. So by saying those things, I am exercising my right to free speech. I'm allowed to say what I want to. No, it doesn't work that way. Yes, I have the right to free speech, but Matengo has his right to dignity. And my right to free speech is not more important than his right to dignity. There must always be a balance. There must always be a balance. So human rights are not necessarily absolute or all encompassing. They limit each other, except for two. There are two human rights that cannot, under any circumstances and by any law or act of parliament, be limited or suspended, namely the right to life and the right to dignity. Parliament cannot pass a law permitting the death sentence because that would be against the human right to life, which cannot be limited or suspended. Life and dignity are absolute. All other human rights limit each other. Uh, like, for example, the example that I've just used, where my right to free speech is limited by Matengu's right to dignity's right to a good name. The Constitution itself limits certain human rights, where it's expressly stated that there might be instances where there can be a deviation from these human rights. The most obvious example that comes to mind is the right to liberty, the right to freedom, where the Constitution says that nobody may deprive somebody else from their right to freedom except under lawful circumstances. Right to freedom. If you commit a crime, you're going to be arrested. Being arrested deprives you of your right to freedom, your right to liberty. But that is okay. It is allowed because the Constitution itself limits the right to liberty. When it says nobody may be deprived of their liberty unless under lawful circumstances. So a lawful arrest deprives you of your right to liberty, but it's fine. Constitution also provides that certain human rights, also not all of them, but certain human rights can be limited for a specific reason or a specific period of time. The most obvious example that comes to mind there is lockdown during COVID. One of the fundamental rights is the right of free movement through the country, which during during COVID was limited. But the Constitution provides that if human rights are limited due to specific reasons, the limitation must be as small as possible. They can only be limited to the extent necessary under the particular circumstances. Protection and enforcement of human rights. Article 5, you don't need to remember the numbers of the articles. Article 5 of the Namibian Constitution states that these rights and freedoms must be upheld and respected by the different organs of government and all persons in Namibia, and are enforced by the courts. Upheld and respected by the different organs of government, parliament, and the executive have to uphold and respect these human rights. In terms of the Constitution, furthermore, our courts are independent and guaranteed free from interference. Doesn't matter how important you are, you cannot interfere with a court. I've already mentioned, if there's a law, piece of legislation, which conflicts with the human rights in the Constitution, the courts have the power to declare it invalid and to set that legislation aside. If there's a direct infringement, ongoing infringement of human rights, courts also have the power to grant an interdict. An interdict is a court order stopping something immediately, and can also award compensation, can award damages. In addition to the courts, the Constitution also provides for the appointment of an ombudsman, the establishment of the office of the ombudsman, which is also tasked with the protection of human rights. Okay, the rest of the slideshow, I'm not going to go through with you. The rest of the slideshow, I discuss the individual human rights, not all of them, some relevant ones. When it gets to the exam, you will be getting a case study. Always include this as part of the exam. Just going to give you an example quickly. Just bear with me. Let's just share a different window. Okay, in the exam, and 100%, and also in your test, you will be getting a case study. This is an example of a case study. It's a sub story that I made up. And then the question is, read the following case study, indicate which human rights have been infringed. And important here, and that is why I am saying you have to refer to the exact articles, and you can only refer to the exact articles if you have your copy of the Constitution with you. So essentially, to answer this, you will go through the case study. The model answer is also in the study guide. Have a look at that. There are all sorts of things that have been done wrong here. You have to point out what the police officer did wrong. Which of Ulrich's human rights were infringed? For example, the cell was without any form of sanitation facilities, and he wasn't given any food for 5 days. What human right does that infringe? Being locked up in a cell without any toilet, no sanitation facilities, not being given food, infringes his right to dignity. That is Article 8. You have to tell me it's Article 8. Otherwise, you're not going to get maximum marks. When the traffic inspector said, "You're a nama, namas always steal everything," what human right is infringed there? Discrimination. We have the human right not to be discriminated against for particular reasons, including our language or our culture. The fact that he was arrested just because he is a Nama is clearly discrimination. So that is, you will definitely be getting a case study like this in the test as well as in the exam. So just have a look there at the example. Okay, that's it for today. Any questions?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
I wanted to know, does the attendance count? Because there are times when we are at work and we aren't able to attend, but I understand that's why the recordings are there, but how
Yes.
important is attendance?
Yeah, obviously, it is preferable if you can
Yes.
to attend the class, because
Okay.
then we can communicate with each other a little bit. Or if I
Oh,
say
okay.
something that you don't understand, you can stop me immediately and ask a question. But I
Okay.
also fully understand that there are students that work, which is why, firstly, the classes are between 1 and 2, uh,
Okay.
so that you can attend in your lunchtime, but
Okay.
also why I record the classes. So if
All
one day
right.
you really cannot make it, I don't not going to keep track of your attendance. You don't get marks for attendance or anything,
Okay.
because I understand that sometimes it isn't possible to attend when the class is going on.
All right. Because in
But
my case, I work during this hour. I don't
yeah,
have a designated lunch hour, so I
yeah.
just try and
Yeah, so
make it
so
in.
so please do keep trying, because class doing it contemporaneously, being able to ask me questions is better. But if you can't, then it is not the end of the world. Every single lecture will be recorded and uploaded on YouTube, so you can listen to them at your convenience when it suits you, as many times as you like.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. If not, then wonderful. Thank you so much for attending. I'll look forward to meeting you again next week. Bye.